Michael, according to Advaita Vedanta in general and Sri Ramana's specific orientation, what can we say is fundamental reality, the ultimate reality of existence?
Right. Um, According to Vedanta, well, particularly according to Advaita, but also according to Vedanta more generally, um, real means what actually exists. Unreal means uh, what doesn't actually exist, even if it seems to exist. So to understand what is real, we need to understand what actually exists. There is a very important principle in Vedanta philosophy. It is most famously uh, expressed by Krishna in chapter 2, verse 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. What he says there is there is no existence of the non-existent, and there is no non-existence of what exists. What that implies is that what exists must always exist. What doesn't always exist doesn't actually exist. As Bhagavan Ramana expressed it, whatever seems to exist at one time, but not at another time, doesn't actually exist, even when it seems to exist.
Mm. Mm.
The reasoning behind this is something that comes into existence and ceases to exist is not intrinsically existent. Something that is not intrinsically existent must derive or borrow its existence from something else. Often an analogy is used to illustrate this. For example, um, take some hot food, a hot bowl of rice. Rice is not intrinsically hot. So how did that rice become hot? It gained its heat from boiling water.
Mm.
Water is not intrinsically hot, so how did it become hot? It gained its heat from the hot pan. And the pan is not intrinsically hot, so where did it get its heat from? It derived it from a fire. Fire is intrinsically hot. So there we're talking about a property, heat. Existence is not a property, but in this respect, it's analogous to a property. The reason existence is not a property is too fundamental. Something must exist in order to have properties. So existence is something more fundamental than any property. So if something comes into existence and ceases to exist, it's not intrinsically existent. So it must derive its existence from something else. It's easy to understand deriving heat from a property like heat from something else. But how can something derive its existence from something else? Again, there's a suitable analogy here. Gold ornaments derive their existence from gold. This is a general principle. Forms derive their existence from the substance of which they're made. So the forms don't have any independent existence. The ornaments don't exist independent of the gold of which they're made, the gold which is their substance. So they derive their existence from the gold. The same gold that today is a bangle may tomorrow be melted and made into a 5 rings or something, or a necklace or something. So according to Advaita philosophy, forms are impermanent. Substance is permanent. But obviously gold is it's not an ultimate substance, because if you dig down deep into gold, it's made of molecules, and those molecules are made of atoms. And so what is the ultimate substance of all things? According to Vedanta, the ultimate substance is being itself. That is all things ultimately derive their being from pure being. How do they derive their being from pure being? According to Advaita, particularly as expressed, as clarified by Bhagavan Ramana, all phenomena seem to exist in the view of ego. So they derive their semi-existence from the semi-existence of ourself as ego. But ego also is something that appears and disappears. It appears in waking and dream, it disappears in sleep. So ego is not intrinsically existent. It doesn't actually exist, even though it seems to exist. So from where does ego derive its existence? Ego derives its semi-existence from the real existence, the pure being that we actually are. So
You,
ultimately, what
you're
exists, what is real, is pure being.
Okay, let's start this. We have pure being, we have the substances that exist, but then we have to have the ego in which the substances appear. But if there are no egos prior to any consciousness or any conscious beings, those substances were still there. So those substances are a derivative or come from the pure being. You don't have to have the intermediate of the ego to make the substances real.
Okay, well, okay, then you need to take a different line of argument then. Um, according to Advaita, the only real substance is pure being.
Okay,
Substance is like gold. Yeah, I use gold as an analogy, but it's
sure.
obviously not a substance. You can break down gold
Right,
into, you could destroy all the atoms and it'll become something else. So it's not an ultimate substance. So what is the ultimate substance? This is a line of argument I've not actually come across in any Advaita text, but this is what seems to me to be a,
Yeah,
a very strong argument.
I might prefer your philosophy to Advaita. So please
Okay, no,
go
but
on.
this is imperfect. This is an argument for the Advaita philosophy. So,
Okay,
um, uh, all finite things are defined by their limitations. If we want to know what is the ultimate substance of all things, we need to remove the limitations. The limitations of a form. What distinguishes you from me? What distinguishes a book from a chair? So uh, we, we we need to conceptually remove all limitations to find the ultimate substance. If all limitations are removed, what remains? The infinite. That is that which is unlimited. So the ultimate substance must be unlimited, because any intermediate substance is in some sense finite. So it has limitations. It must have something. You can't have limitations without something that is limited. So what is it uh, what is it that in what do those limitations inhere? Or I don't know if that's a correct way of saying it. There must be
yeah.
something that is limited. So in order to find out what is limited, you need to isolate it from the limitations. In other words, you need to remove the limitations and dig down deeper. What is it that is beyond? What is it that underlies? Substance is a nice word because it stands for what stands under. So, what is it that stands under or underlies the limitations? What is it that is limited? If you remove all limitations, you come to the unlimited, the infinite. So, the ultimate substance must be infinite.
And
Since the
what can we say about this infinite substance, this pure being, and how does awareness or consciousness relate to that? Or I know happiness is an important characteristic, or love. Are these blended together? Is consciousness and awareness a derivative of being, or are they coexistent and coterminous in some ultimate sense.
They're actually one and the same, because if consciousness were something other than pure being, it wouldn't be. So consciousness and pure consciousness and pure being are one and the same thing. The
Are they just
nature of
different?
pure
Are they just
being is to be
are they
aware of
just
it. Sorry, but
are these just different are these just different words for the same thing, or
yes,
are they two different things that are in some sense, in an underlying sense, from the same thing?
no, they are
Or,
the same. They are the same thing.
and they're just two different words to describe exactly the same thing.
Yes, we can say they're two different features of the same thing.
Two different
But,
features of the same thing.
but they're not. They're more than features. They are the thing itself, because the thing itself is
Right.
pure being. It is pure consciousness.
Okay. Well, what else is it pure?
It's
Being
pure
and
happiness.
consciousness. Pure happiness. All right.
It's
Anything else, or just three?
pure love.
Pure love. Four. So
Yeah.
four is a magic. Four is a magic number.
We,
Now
we,
these
we,
are
we can say other things, but these are essential to its nature.
okay, and these are, in a sense, human terms that we're using to describe aspects of the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and
Why?
but they all have the same level of fundamentality.
Yeah. They're all one and the same thing.
Okay. Um, and to ask why are those characteristics as they are, and I assume that's some kind of brute
Well,
fact.
it is a brute fact, but we can say something about it. That is,
Okay.
consciousness cannot be something other than being, because if consciousness were other than being, it would be a non-existent consciousness, which would be meaningless. So, the very nature of being, it knows itself just by being itself. So
Okay.
uh, what actually exists is pure consciousness, and um, what we call misery or dissatisfaction, these are features of the mind. In waking and dream, we experience a mixture of pleasure and pain, happiness and unhappiness, satisfaction and dissatisfaction. These are all the nature of the mind. In sleep, when we are free of the mind, we are free of all pain, all misery, all dissatisfaction. If we are suffering greatly, there's nothing more attractive than sleep, because sleep we are free of all troubles. So the very nature of being is infinite happiness. Infinite being is infinite happiness. And it, because the infinite being is awareness, it is the nature of being to love itself, because it is happiness. And as Bhagavan said, happiness is the cause of love. We love whatever makes us happy. So since it is happiness, it loves itself. And because there's nothing other than it, from our perspective, it loves everything as itself. So when it is said God is love, uh, God loves us as himself. He doesn't see us as other than himself, because since he is infinite, there can't be anything other than himself. So he loves us because he sees it, because in his view, we are nothing other than himself, and he has infinite love for himself. So God's love is all embracing.
How does this articulate with the philosophy of axiology, which says that the good or value or love is fundamental reality?
It is fundamental, because that pure love is itself pure being. It's the very nature of being to know itself, to love itself, and to be happy in itself.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like and comment below. You can support Closer to Truth by subscribing. Closer to Truth is now accepting your tax-exempt donations. Please come to closertotruth.com/donate. Thank you very much for supporting us, and thanks for watching.